Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside Scoop. My name is Dan, and I'm the primary content creator here on I Feel Like Learning. Inside Scoop is a series where I'll be talking to students in a wide variety of majors to see what it's really like to be enrolled in their specific major programs. We'll also discuss the career opportunities that these students have after graduating. Welcome to Inside Scoop. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Inside Scoop. Today I'm joined with my good friend Sam, and we're just going to be talking a little bit about her major and what she wants to do after college, things like that. You're going to hear in just a little bit, but this episode's probably going to be structured just a little differently than normal, and that'll all become clear in just a second, but I guess let's get started. So Sam, what major are you?
I am a biological sciences major.
And what do you want to do with that after college?
So when I graduate, I'm going to apply to genetic counseling programs.
Cool. So that's kind of what our episode's going to be about today. We're going to be talking a little bit about bio, but I'm a bio major as well, so we've kind of discussed that at least at an undergrad level. But we're also going to be talking a little bit about applying to grad school, what genetic counseling is like, things like that. So I guess let's just get right into it. So what attracted you to choosing this major and career path of genetic counseling?
So I chose bio because back in high school, I really enjoyed my freshman bio class. And then I actually became interested in genetics during that same class. I really like doing those problems where you're given like the parents and you're like, all right, what's the probability of a child being like this based off of the parents? And so I really got into genetics through that. And for a while, I thought I wanted to do genetic research, but I really enjoy working with people, not just with like petri dishes. So I decided I wanted to do something with a little more patient care. And that's what brought me to genetic counseling. So through a lot of research and careers, I found out genetic counseling is a career choice that is open to many. And I decided that I was going to do some research and see if that's what I really wanted to do. And it is.
Oh yeah, that's really kind of a cool way to take a bio degree. If you guys might remember from my episode, or if you're just hearing now for the first time, whatever. For me in biology, I'm kind of the antithesis of Sam right now. I'm strictly in labs doing like petri dishes, things like that, and I'm really probably in my career not going to have much communication, I guess, with patients or like clients, things like that. So it is interesting to see how this one major can have so many different career paths. So I guess for you, as not only a biology student, but someone who wants to go into genetic counseling, what's life like as a student in this kind of pathway?
So, um, my major, or for my graduate degree, you actually don't have to be a bio major. It certainly helps because a lot of the prerequisites are like classes that you have to take as a bio major anyway. But I know people that are applying to genetic counselor programs that are psych majors, chemistry majors, anthropology, just anything that has like flexibility so that they can take the classes that are required. Um, But anyway, I've been taking a lot of classes focused on genetics. So as a biology major, I have to take genetics no matter what. Same with the requirements for grad school. But I chose to take genomics because that was something I really was interested in. And I thought that's just more ways to learn about genetics. I'm going to be taking molecular bio because that even goes further into genetics and into like the molecular level of cells and biological processes. But I've pretty much decided to take a lot of classes that focus on like transcription, translation, anything that has to do with DNA, RNA, any that I felt would be helpful for my coursework as a genetic counselor.
I guess on top of those courses that you thought would be helpful, like are there any other kind of prerequisite courses that genetic counseling programs kind of say you have to take these in order to apply?
Sure, there's a couple. You have to take intro bios, you have to take intro chemistries, you have to take biochem, genetics, statistics, and those are about and you have to take intro to psych. Some schools recommend that you take an upper level psychology, whether it's developmental, abnormal. It's up to you, but only intro to psych is actually required. And those are it for requirements. But there's a lot of recommendations. So I'm planning on taking human physiology next year. That is recommended, but not required. Cell bio is also recommended. Genomics is not offered in many schools, but if it was, I bet it would be recommended at at the grad programs. Biostatistics isn't too bad. Developmental bio. There's a lot of courses that are like recommended but not required.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It kind of sounds almost like I don't want to really compare it because these are two very different programs, but it kind of sounds like med school in a way, where yes, they have these core courses that you have to take to get in, but then they also on top of that have the recommended courses. That's like this will only help your chances of getting in, things like that.
Yeah, it's certainly like that.
Are there any tests that you have to take to get into a genetic counseling program?
Yes. So you have to take the GREs. Because of COVID, a couple of schools are saying GREs are optional this year. I'm unsure if they're going to be doing that in the future, but that is for this past year. I do know, so I go to University of Pittsburgh currently, and I know that our genetic counseling program is still requiring the GREs.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. And it'll definitely be interesting too to see how different schools kind of adapt to the COVID-19 pandemic and how they kind of forgo some of these restrictions that might have historically been around for a while.
Yeah, it
So,
certainly will be interesting to see if they continue.
mhm, yeah, definitely. So I guess what's something you wish you knew about this kind of your major or your program that you want to go into kind of before you started pursuing it?
Sure. So for genetic counseling programs, they recommend that you have advocacy experience, whether that's working at a clinic, whether that's working with a crisis hotline, just working with people that they're going through a hard time in life and that you can help counsel them through it. So with genetic counseling, you're not just talking about genetics with them, you're also helping them go through a difficult time in their life. It's usually not a very good thing if you're going to a genetic counselor. Usually means someone is experiencing something wrong with them. They're trying to figure out what it can be. So you have to be able, for a genetic counselor, you have to be able to help people go through difficult things. And so for these graduate programs, they expect that you have this experience. So just getting these advocacy experiences early on is very good. I wasn't sure about genetic counseling until about a year and a half ago. And so I don't have as much experience I would have had if I had known from the very first time I started college that this is what I wanted to do.
How would you recommend undergrads in going about getting these kind of hours of experience?
Sure. So um, I know I found out a lot about a lot of things through working with a club that I'm involved called Genetic Counseling Club. Obviously, that's not a very common club, but I do know a lot of obviously hours can come through like mental health clubs. So if you like join like a mental health club that helps like release the stigma and just like talk about that, you'll find more experiences with working with crisis hotlines. Or you can work with like an abortion clinic and then you can help with those because that's also people going through a hard time. Whether it's just even with Planned Parenthood, whether it's just helping them realize that like things like that, or even like a battered women's shelter. That's like another way to get advocacy hours. There's like a bunch of clubs on campus that if you're interested in like a specific topic, you join that club, they'll help you get advocacy hours through that. But there's really not one resource that's the perfect way to do it.
Yeah, it definitely just seems like kind of the best way to go about it is just kind of generally networking, being able to use the resources that your college provides, or also just that the internet provides, things like that. And then from there, being able to find those specific experiences that you think would best be able to help you in the future.
Exactly.
So normally at this point, I would ask kind of what are some career options for students in this major, but I guess for you specifically, if you just kind of want to elaborate, what are career options for people going to this graduate program? But then I guess in a larger sense, what is genetic counseling?
So let me start with genetic counseling is going to a genetic counselor to determine like if you are predisposed for any genetic conditions, whether you're a carrier or yourself are expected to develop a genetic disorder. So this can usually you'll go to a genetic counselor either for prenatal screening, pediatrics, or cancer. So prenatal screening can be either before you're pregnant, you can determine your carrier status to see if you yourself are holding a recessive gene for a genetic disorder that you can pass on to your child, or whether or while you're pregnant, you can determine whether your child's already developing a genetic disorder. So that's one thing. So that's prenatal genetic counseling. Pediatric genetic counseling is if your child is born and you realize that something's not really working developmentally. So you get your child's genome sequence to determine what mutations they may have or what polymorphisms. And then the last one is cancer genetic counseling. So usually this can be determined, this is helpful for people that have a family member that has cancer and they want to determine if it's genetic or whether you have the mutation that causes the cancer. So a lot of people know genetic counseling for the BRCA gene. Was popularized from Angelina Jolie. She herself had the BRCA gene, which means that she is predisposed for breast cancer. She went really further with it and got a mastectomy before the cancer even developed. But that's not the only options. So you can go to a genetic counselor to determine if you have the proto-oncogenes, or you can just go to see you have cancer and to see if it's genetic to know if your family members should be concerned or not. But the other part of genetic counseling is, yes, you advise people on what type of testing they should get, if any, but also you advise them of what they should do with this information. So I know for prenatal genetic screening, if you as an adult you decide you want to get reproductive screening, which is pretty much determining your carrier status, and you realize that you are predisposed, you're a carrier of Tay-Sachs. Well, now you have to decide when you get married and when you decide to have children, okay, do I want to take the chance of having a child with Tay-Sachs? Or it's not an issue, your partner doesn't have the gene either, so only one of you does and then your child won't develop it. But let's say both of you do. The genetic counselor will help you talk about what your options are. Do you want to adopt? Do you want to do IVF? Do you want to get an amniocentesis? A bunch of different things that you can do. And a genetic counselor will help give you your options and what advise you in which ways they think you should do it. Or just give you your options unbiased.
Honestly, this is something that, at least for me, I never really considered for myself, but it definitely is a very interesting kind of career path in which you can take kind of a more molecular approach to biology, but then still apply it to, I don't want to call it patient care, but still interacting with clients, patients, things like that, and then being able to kind of utilize this molecular biology knowledge to help them in a way. So that's definitely interesting. I guess just to wrap up, what's next for you?
So I'm going to be taking the GREs this coming summer, and then I'm going to be applying for genetic counseling programs in the fall. I really hope I get in, but if I don't, I'm going to be applying for genetic counseling assistant jobs. And then I'll be applying once again for a graduate program the next fall.
Do you have kind of a certain specialization in genetic counseling that you want to go into? Or when you're in kind of a genetic counseling career, do you just kind of do all three of those kind of specializations that you were talking about?
So unlike with medical school, you actually are trained for everything. And it's really just whatever job you get, you kind of learn on the job what specialization you want. And if you decide that's not the specialization for you, you just get a new job. You can be 20 years in one specialization and then decide, meh, no more. And you can just switch over. You don't have to get retrained or anything. You get all the knowledge once, and then you just kind of use it, whatever is relevant to you as you need it.
Oh, wow. The flexibility is actually kind of really nice because I
No,
definitely
it's
know.
super nice.
Mhm.
And there are more specializations. The bigger hospitals will have even more specializations, but those are the main three that every program will go through in clinicals. And then some programs will have a fourth clinical where you either get to choose or you can go abroad. There's a bunch of different options depending on the program.
This definitely does seem like a really cool program. And I definitely recommend anyone who might be even remotely considering it, definitely do some research, look it up, because it seems like there's definitely a lot of opportunities in this field as well. So that was an inside scoop into the life of a pre-genetic counseling student. If you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to write them in the comments below. You can also contact us. You tongue-tied. You can also contact us via our website. The links for everything can be found in the description below. Thank you so much, Sam, for coming on today. It was great hearing about what you're doing now, what you want to go into, kind of genetic counseling as a whole. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you for watching this episode of Inside Scoop. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our new releases. New episodes of Inside Scoop will be available every Friday. Also, be sure to check out other content from I Feel Like Learning, as well as all the other I Feel Like productions. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep staying informed, and keep on learning.